developed games for the 360, they've made 8 games. This game ranks the highest at 8.5 out of 10, while the rest all average around 8 out of 10-ish. But that's critical reception. Gamer reception is, this is the best, and the rest is crap.
Rare has certainly fallen from grace, but I blame Microsoft for that, as ever since they bought them out, you could just shake an 8-ball at every game release and get the result of outlook not good. Critical reception was positive, but gamers noticed a massive drop in quality from the games they knew from the SNES to the N64, with Star Fox Adventures on the GameCube being considered their last best game for a Nintendo system. While I agree that it isn't a proper Star Fox game, it is a fun and well-crafted one. Most people say that Nintendo should never have sold their share of Rare. However, that may not have done much considering that they only owned 49% of Rare, and to take over a company, you need to own 51%. But Microsoft paid $375 million to own 100% of Rare. $375 million, and turned them into a Kinect developer over the course of a console generation. Rare was known for being one of the most talented developers in the world, but not all the talent in the world can make the Kinect work like Microsoft hopes it would. But with the Xbox One and the new Kinect being a flop out the door, hopefully Microsoft will try to turn Rare around so this way they can be the game company they used to be and maybe make a true Banjo-Kazooie 3.
Although I doubt it, since Microsoft is a company run by old men in suits, but things are looking a little bit better with the firing of Don Matrick because he obviously had no idea what he was doing.
This is the third time I've played this game. It was given to me as a Christmas gift from a friend. I wasn't expecting it, as I only remembered showing a slight interest in the game. It was the limited edition version that came with a bunch of stuff that I can't remember in the slightest because I never really looked at it. This was a game that I got really addicted to during the first playthrough. I later traded it in and then bought it again, only to trade it in again as I couldn't get into it, and then bought it again for this review only to really just go through the motions. But not in a bad way, and had to do it twice, which I'll explain later. So this review is basically my third and fourth time playing the game. During development, the game started off under the title of Your Garden for the Pocket PC platform. For you teenagers out there, that's what we had before the iPhone and Android devices. A Pocket PC was a PDA that ran a very funky and bug-ridden version of Windows. Anyway, development started in 2002, but when Microsoft bought Rare, development shifted to the Xbox and then to the 360. The game became popular during development, and Microsoft looked for a licensing partner, so they found one with 4 kids who developed a 3D animated cartoon which aired 3 months before the game's release.
This is the first time that I can think of when a cartoon based off a video game came out before the video game. I wonder if the same's gonna happen for Sonic Boom.
The graphics are really bright and colorful, as they should be since the whole game revolves around piñatas. The level of detail is just amazing. If you zoom in, you can see every individual piece of paper fur of the piñatas, and each piece moves very realistically and almost independently of each other. For 2006, I would say that this game's graphics, and the way things moved at such a high level of detail, that this game defined next-gen graphics for its time, because of the level of detail with no frame rate slowdown. Although the only frame rate slowdown comes from the intro and clips when you get a certain number of achievements. I always found this weird in games. It's just playing a video that's not using in-game stuff. It should require less processing power to play a video. The music is something that I didn't really pay much attention to, as it's pretty quiet and plays once in a while. I think the game goes more for ambience than anything else, similar to Minecraft. The sounds that the piñatas make are cute and adorable and cartoonish imitations of their real-world counterparts. The voice acting is pretty good, but the character Lifos, her accent seems to range from British to Scottish, and while the voices are good, the characters are annoying. They spout cheesy one-liners. Granted, it's a kids game and that's a target demographic, but like television shows made for kids, there needs to be an appeal for adults as well, as they will more than likely be participating in the activity with the child.
After saying that out loud, I can see why cartoons nowadays suck. It's because people my age have made themselves stupid with shows like The Jersey Shore and Honey Boo Boo.
The game is billed as a virtual pet life or farming simulator, but that's wrong, as this game is none of those things, and I'll explain that later. When the game starts, you're tasked with reviving a dead garden that you're given. Now here's why I had to do this twice. When I moved, I had to set up service with a new cable provider, so I had to set up all the systems to the new equipment. My 360 is set to auto login, so I thought that it would have logged me in automatically after setting up the new network. It didn't. So after putting in about an hour and a half into the game, I found that there was no save option available. After looking up how to save, I found out that you needed to be signed into Xbox Live. I signed into Xbox Live and it made me start from the beginning. So all that work I put into the game was gone. Let that be a warning to anyone wanting to play this game. Be sure to be signed into Xbox Live, otherwise you can't save, and the game does not tell you that if you're not signed in, you won't be able to save. That's kind of an important thing. The game is open-ended, so it depends on what you want to do, and how your garden turns out depends on your imagination. But if you want to make progress, you need to get pinatas to come to your garden and let them become residents. The more things you do to your garden, the more it's worth, and the more you level up as a gardener, and that means you can do more. Like make ponds to attract water-based pinatas.
There's about 60 different pinatas that you can collect and raise, so there kinda is a Pokemon feeling to it, and it doesn't help that some of these pinatas can evolve too.
The game has been compared to titles such as Animal Crossing, Harvest Moon, and The Sims. I've never played the first two, and I've only played the first of The Sims. From my experience with The Sims, you have more direct control over the actions of the Sims you create can do. You can make them do anything you desire, or do anything you desire to them. Viva Pinata has some of that control, but not in the way you'd think. While I haven't played Animal Crossing, I've seen people play it, and I've had to do research to get a good enough comparison, as others have compared Viva Pinata to Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is open-ended with no clearly defined objective, but you're encouraged to perform activities around the town in which you reside in. Animal Crossing is like a chore simulator from what I've seen. It rewards you for doing things for the townspeople. Viva Pinata, while it seems like a chore simulator as well, it doesn't reward you in the same way. You do the things you do to keep your garden in a habitable state. So you're not doing it for items or rewards, you're doing it for the safety of your garden and pinatas.
So Viva Pinata isn't a life, pet, or farming simulator, and I know this sounds crazy, but it's actually a real-time strategy game in reverse.
Think about it. What do you do in an RTS game? You build your resources, amass your army, and go wipe out an external threat. While here, you're struggling to keep your army alive because they'll eat each other. It's all about resource management. Can you buy the fences or homes for your pinatas? You better have a marshmallow resident in your garden for them to eat, and to get a marshmallow, you need to have a turnip ready for eating. Don't have a turnip? Better go buy one or find a turnip seed so you can grow one. Want 2 zumbugs to romance? 30% of your garden had better be long grass that you bought for around 1,000 gold from Cost-A-Lot. They each ate 3 orchids for a total of 6, and both have eaten a jar of jam, and you have a zumbug house in your garden. In addition, you need to strategically place things as you have a very limited amount of room. You quickly learn that you never have enough space as things start filling up and filling up quickly, and even though the garden size increases, you'll quickly fill it up. The higher you grow in level also means that things like ruffians will come by to wreck your garden, and you need to bribe them to go away. But then you have to stop a non-resident pinata from eating another one because you haven't bred enough to sacrifice to non-resident pinatas to make them residents. As you can tell, the game can quickly become a hardcore RTS game depending on the pace you set for yourself.
The very first time I ever played this game, I took it slow, so I really never noticed it. But this time, I went pretty fast and was drowning in micromanagement. The difficulty is actually set based on how fast you go.
The game was shunned by supposed hardcore gamers for being too cute and colorful without realizing how hardcore and difficult it can be, as it is a very complex game because you need to understand the correlation each pinata has to the environment and other pinatas, and you need to make them happy, otherwise they'll leave the garden and you'll need to pay Gretchen Fetch'em to hunt them down and bring them back. So like an RTS game, you need to micromanage and track your resources carefully, otherwise you won't be able to keep your pinatas happy or safe from predator pinatas. But there are times where the game will go faster than you expected, such as when a wild pretzel came into my garden and started hunting my bunnycombs. I had to pour water on the pretzel to make it go away, as I have yet to make my bunnycombs romance first so I would have an extra that the pretzel could eat. Romancing anything that isn't a whirlum takes time to initiate, as there are certain requirements needed first. The requirements for whirlums are always met as the game gives it to you from the start, but once the requirements are met, you'll see a heart appear above them. Once you have 2 pinatas of the same kind with hearts above their heads, you can lead one to the other and then you'll need to play a minigame, where you navigate the pinata through a maze to get to the other. Once the maze is complete, the pinatas will go into their house and do a romance dance.
That means they're gonna fuck.
The game has multiplayer too, but it's really a matter of just sending your pinatas to other people, and it doesn't require a subscription to gold either. Which is nice that they did that so kids could have some sort of online interactivity that wouldn't be peppered with name-calling and swearing. There is a story, but it's told to you through your journal, making it very easy to skip. Basically, the guy who owned the garden before you became paralyzed looking for a Dragon Ash pinata, and you are the new owner and you are pretty much continuing his legacy. The game isn't without its flaws though. When you start a new game, you can't skip the tutorial. You have to listen to everything Lefos tells you and do everything she says, even if it's something you'll never use. I found this extremely irritating, especially since the game reset itself when I signed in my Xbox Live account. An option to skip the tutorial would be nice, especially if you're coming back to this game again. You can also romance pinatas that have met their initial romance requirements by buying romance candy and having them eat it. But this isn't the flaw. It's making them eat the candy, as sometimes the pinata will go up to it, then walk away. Even if they eat the candy, directing two romanceable pinatas to each other can be annoying. They'll start to go to each other and then get ADD and wander off. So you try again, only for them to get ADD and wander off.
How am I supposed to get my pinatas to breed if they can't even, oh, look at this puppy?
Viva Pinata is a game that came out at a good time during the 7th generation, as game companies were trying to out-brown and out-gritty each other. It's good to see something with more colors than different shades of brown and gray. And if my collection of PS4 games is any indication, it looks like the 8th generation is only going to get browner and grayer, as the only game with any actual color seems to be Knack, and the upcoming Sunset Overdrive for the Xbox One. Playing Viva Pinata makes me wonder whatever happened to the imagination that developers used to have. You can improve the graphics and that's fine. You can make the games look more realistic and that's fine. But eventually you're going to oversaturate the market. With so many brown and gray action games out there, you can say it's already oversaturated. And people will get tired of it. For example, people are already tired of Call of Duty, because there's more and more people criticizing it, yet people still buy it to the point where it's become the butt of every joke in the gaming industry. That's why I'm glad to see the amount of zombie games going away, as ever since Dead Rising, the 7th generation became oversaturated with zombie games. And while zombie games can be fun, you can have too much of a good thing. But Viva Pinata is a game that's very refreshing, especially when you compare it to everything that's been shoved down our throats by companies like EA and Activision.
If you like Animal Crossing or Minecraft, then you'll definitely enjoy Viva Pinata. It's a very well disguised RTS that does not disappoint.